Today I'm going to show you exactly how you can make an edit that looks just like this. So stay tuned and watch till the end so you don't miss out. To start, all you're gonna need is a sound and a clip. In my case, I'm gonna edit Spider-Man, so I already searched out the sound and the intro that I wanna use for my edit. To start, we wanna mark our beat so we know when our clips are supposed to change. To do that, just right click on your sound, go to Keyframe Assistant and convert audio into keyframes. This should bring up a new layer. Now we can click on the layer, press U on our keyboard to bring up the keyframes. Once that's done, select both channels and open the graph editor. Now as you can see, it's way easier to tell where your beat drops like this instead of just listening to it and then approximating the frame where your beat drops. So every time you see a spark in your graph, you know that there's a beat drop. Make sure to mark them by heading to the right and selecting this little marker. When pressing this button once, it should create a marker at your current frame. Do that for every beat drop that your sound has. So now once we've done that, your timeline should look something like this with a lot of markers marking your beats. Now we can exit the graph editor and delete the layer that we just created because we're not going to need it anymore. Once we've done that, I'm going to go ahead and cut my intro at the part where the first beat drop is. So I'm just going to go to that marker, zoom in a bit and cut by pressing Ctrl, Shift and D on your keyboard. Now what we want to do is we're going to add more clips. To do that, just drag your scene pack onto your layer, double click on it, and then you can just drag along this little marker right here. And if you found a scene that you want to use for your edit, just go to this little bracket, click it once and it should automatically skip ahead to that point in time. Now go to the end of your mark and then just split the clip again by pressing Ctrl, Shift and D. Double click again on your scene pack layer and do that till you have all your clips. Now once you've got all your clips, make sure to go ahead and if there's certain clips that are not centered right now, just select that clip and drag it into the center so that your character is always visible in the composition. Now we're gonna go ahead, select all our clips at once and enable motion blur and frame blending. Also make sure to put your composition frame rate to 60 FPS so your edits are gonna look way smoother. Now we're gonna go ahead and pre-compose every single layer. To do that, just go onto a layer, click it and press Ctrl, Shift and C on your keyboard. Then you should see this little window appearing and we're gonna select the bottom option and also make sure that this check mark is enabled. Press OK and do that for every clip. Once that's done, we're gonna add the most essential thing for every edit, which is Twixtor. So we're gonna go ahead, open our effects and presets panel and search for Twixtor. Go all the way down and add your preset onto your layer. I already made an in-depth guide on how to do a smooth Twixtor, so I'm just gonna roughly cover it in this video. Make sure to set the input frame rate to your current shot. Put the motion sensitivity up to 100 and put this like that. Now we're gonna set a keyframe for the speed at the beginning of our clip, leave it at 100. Zoom in a bit, press U on our keyboard to bring up the keyframes and go ahead one frame, put the value to 180. Go ahead 12 frames and set the value to 40. Now we're gonna go like 15 frames before the clip ends, set another keyframe at 40 and go to the end and put it up to 90. So that we have the smooth fade out while doing the Twixtor. Now just select all the keyframes at once, click on the Twixtor effect and press Ctrl and C to copy the keyframes. Now go into the next clip and press Ctrl and V to paste them. Press U on your keyboard and now we can just select all of them and while pressing Alt on our keyboard we can drag them and they're gonna stay in the same proportional distance from each other. But now as you can see for this clip the screen turned black, so we're gonna set the color source to our current clip. Do that for all clips. Now once you've done all that, make sure to play your edit once and make sure everything worked. Once you check that, we can now add a little transition. So we're gonna go ahead to the beginning of our clip again and search for directional blur. I'm gonna apply it onto our clip. Now just copy my settings. We're gonna set a keyframe at the very beginning of the clip and put the value from 10 to 80. Now we have to change the angle because we don't want the directional blur that's horizontally but vertically. So we're gonna put it from 90 to 0. So it comes from above. Go to the end of your clip and put the value to 0. Now press U on your keyboard to bring up the keyframes. And now we're gonna easy ease the keyframes, which means we're gonna add a graph to make them look smoother and control the movement. So we're gonna right click, Keyframe Assistant and Easy Ease. Now open your graph editor and just copy my graph. Take a look at it. Now make sure to copy it and paste it onto the other clips just like we did earlier. Now once that's done, we're gonna add a fading so it looks a bit smoother when the scene switches. To do that, just click onto your clip, press T on your keyboard to bring up the opacity property. We're gonna create a keyframe at the very beginning of the clip and put the value down from 100 to 50. Now go approximately to the middle of your clip, put the value up to 100 go to the end and put the value down to 35. Now again, we're going to easy ease them to add a graph. Right click, keyframe assistant, easy ease, open the graph editor, and now just copy my graphs. Now close the graph editor again, copy these keyframes and paste it onto the other clips. Now our actual edit is almost done, so we're now gonna edit the intro to make it look a bit more appealing when clicking onto the edit first. To do that, I'm just gonna add a fade in at the beginning, so I'm gonna press T on my keyboard while selecting the intro clip, go to the very beginning, press the opacity keyframe and put it down to 0. Now go ahead a good bit and set the keyframe value to 100 right here. So now as you can see, when the clip starts and we play the intro, it's gonna slowly fade in. But I don't want my clip to be visible at first, so I'm also gonna add a blur. To do that, I'm gonna go ahead in my effects and presets panel and search for BCC lens blur OBS. I'm gonna apply it onto my clip and now just copy my settings. Put the quality from fast to sharper, put the iris scale up to 20, and put the gamma to 1000. Actually, the blur is a bit much, so I'm gonna put it down to 8. Once that's done, I'm now gonna go shortly before the clip ends and set another keyframe for the opacity, leave it at 100. Go to the place where the edit starts and put the opacity down to 45. Now just copy my graph again, keyframe assistant, easy ease, and copy this graph. This is basically just to make it look a bit smoother when the clip changes. As you can see, shortly before the edit starts, it gets darker again and then looks a bit smoother. Actually, I'm gonna drag it ahead a few more keyframes just to make it fit. Once that's done, the last thing I like to add for my intros is black and white effect. So I'm gonna go ahead and search for black and white. Just drag it onto your clip and that's all you need. Now, because I want my edit to be looped once, I'm gonna go ahead and pre-compose all the clips that contain in the actual editing part together by pressing Ctrl Shift and C. Make a big composition. Now duplicate that composition by pressing Ctrl and D on your keyboard and drag it all the way to the end where my first composition ends. Make sure to zoom in and make sure that there's no overlapping frames. And as you can see, we now doubled our edit. Now go ahead and create 3 new adjustment layers. We're going to do that by pressing Ctrl, Alt and Y on our keyboard and press it 3 times for 3 layers. And we're now going to add some final touches, meaning a panning, a coloring and a flicker, which is pretty important because that's the main thing that makes your edit re-recognizable and your edit stand out from others. We're going to start by adding the flicker, so we're going to click on the top adjustment layer, search for S_flicker in our effects and presets panel and drag it onto there. Now what values you're going to put here basically depends on what type of edit you're doing. As my edit is pretty soft, I'm going to put low values, but if you have a really hard edit, a really hard shake edit, you can put the values higher, just play around with it a bit. So I'm going to put my amplitude to 0.12 and put the frequency down to 15. Now I also like to do some random color, so I'm going to put a seed to 0.2. Now next we're going to add a panning. To do that, just search for S_shake, drag it onto the bottom layer, which is pretty important. And now we're just gonna add a soft panning. Again, this is gonna depend on what type of edit you're doing. If you wanna go for a soft edit, just copy my settings. Make sure to enable motion blur because it's gonna make your edit look a bit more smooth. Now we're gonna cover the most important part of this whole tutorial, which is adding a good color correction. As you might know from your own experiences, a good quality can really boost the impact that your edits has on your viewers and really make your edits stand out. So I recommend you to get a premium preset for coloring that you can add onto your edits to make them shine. If you want my exact coloring that I use to boost the quality of my edits to the maximum, make sure to check out the first link in the description because I'm running a huge sale right now on my shop. There's up to 70% off of all presets for beginners just like you, so you can learn editing way easier and way faster and get quick results in short amount of time. So now I'm just going to show you what my coloring actually does to edit and how it can improve your edit quality and make your edit stand out from the rest. If you buy my coloring, this is what your edit is going to look like after you put the coloring on the clip. In my opinion, there's no better quality than this, so make sure to check out the first link. Now once you've added all final touches, make sure to pre-compose all layers together. So select all of them and press Ctrl Shift and C. Now add your watermark. To do that, just head to the top row, select the text icon, press onto your screen and type your own name in. Once you've done that, go to Effects and Presets panel, search for Drop Shadow and add it onto your newly created text layer. Now put the opacity up to 100, the distance to 9 and the softness to 2. Now to make this transparent, make sure to toggle your switches and for the mode, change it from normal to overlay. As you can see, there's no transparent watermark in your edit, so no one can steal it. Now what's really important if you add your watermark like this, to create a new solid below your actual edit layer. So click onto your sound and press Ctrl and Y on your keyboard. This should bring up this window and just press OK. Make sure the color is selected as black. Press OK and OK. What this does, it basically at the beginning we added the fading, and as you can see, if I disable this layer, you can see the watermark just white like that. So we're gonna leave that black solid there so no one can see our watermark when our screen is black. Now once all these steps are completed, you're good to go and you can render your edit. If you're unsure about your render settings and TikTok keeps compressing your quality, make sure to check out my full render guide, because I made a full video covering how to edit and how to prevent your quality from dropping on TikTok. It's linked in the top right corner right now. If this tutorial helped you, make sure to like and subscribe, and also leave a comment telling me what tutorial you want to see next. Make sure to check out my Payhip and my shop. The link's the first in the description. As I said, there's a huge sale going on right now. If you're an upcoming editor, make sure to join my Discord right now, because I'm on there 24/7. You can ask me questions and I'll gladly help you. The link's also to that in the description. Thank you for watching and see you next time.